Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this tutorial we are learning how to sew a housewife slit or a housewife skirt or an aboso. Alright, so you will find the tutorial where I had shown you guys how to line your fabric is in the description box down below. So over here, as you can see, I am folding this edge of the fabric in by 2 inches. Okay, now this side or this end of the fabric was the first flap that I was showing you guys from the beginning. All right, so the first flap, you fold it in by 2 inches. All right, ensure that you have 2 inches all the way down. Once you are done, you secure it with pins, just as you see me do. Please be careful with your pins, as you can really hit yourself. I wasn't so careful and I really hit myself so badly so many times. Alright, so guys, after securing this 2 inch with your pins, we are going to stitch this fold down. Alright, but we're not going to do it on the wrong side. We're going to do it on the right side. Alright, so that the stitch turns out straight and there are no curves and no bends. Alright, so we're going to stitch this side down. So here we are, guys. I have stitched it. I hope you can see that it turned out just as I wanted it to, straight with no curl and no bend. So I will iron it out to ensure that it is flat and there are no creases anywhere. Alright, so a little backstory. Usually housewife slits or housewife skirts are worn by the elderlies or by church movements or by schools. Alright, like senior high schools. Alright, their church cloth, they usually go with this style for their skirts. Alright, so typically young people like you and I, no we don't go for these kind of skirts. Alright, no. So I'm just doing this so that I will show you guys a simpler way in going by this. Okay, so guys, once the other end or the other edge is done, we are okay with it. We will fold the other side of the fabric. All right, now usually for small people like me with with hips of 36 and thereabout, you will usually fold in this edge or this side of the fabric in by 15 inches, assuming you were using or you had used full lining. If you remember from our previous tutorial, we hadn't used full lining for this tutorial. If I remember, we had used one yard of lining, and so I had forgotten that I had used 1 yard of lining and it wasn't a full lining. So I initially folded this side in by 15 inches. So once you are done, you fold the other end over, as you can see me doing. You fold it over the 15 inches. You fold it over like so. All right, and ensure that everything lays flat. All right, and that you are good. By ironing it, you ensure that you get just the result. All right, just as you see me do. So I could have deleted this side since I'm going to make amends, but I wanted you guys to see and to understand the various ways you can adjust and get what you need. All right, so like I said, my hip is 36 inches. All right, now to move any further from here, you have to ensure that you have your hip measurement plus 3 to 4 inches allowance. Okay, so after folding your flaps on top of each other like this, you have to ensure that you have your hip measurements divided into 2 plus 3 to 4 inches allowance. And as you can see here, I don't have that. I have 19 inches, which is less. I'm going to need 22 inches. Okay, and so as you can see, our 15 inches fold is too much because this fabric didn't use full lining, and so I had to adjust. All right, and so by reducing the fold, you are increasing the width you are going to be working with later on. All right, the waist that will ensure you can shape out your skirt with your hip measurement and have a bit of room for allowance. Okay, and so as you can see, I have it close. I have it at 21 and a half, which is perfect. So over here is our bottom. All right, here. So you secure this first and second fold with a pin, just as I have done. Ensure that it doesn't touch the last fold. All right, just as you see me do. Now once that is done, for someone with my length of 39, you are going to measure 23 inches from the base, from that bottom to somewhere here, 23 inches. All right. Now, if the person you are working for, or the client you're working for, has a slit length that is lower than this, you can adjust it appropriately. All right, somewhere between 20 to 23, you can adjust as you see fit. All right, so I'm marking that 23 inches from beneath to that point there, and then I'm going to connect it because you need a straight line. We are going to sew and acquire something that looks like an L shape. All right. So you mark your 23 inches in two places and connect it with a straight line to have a straight line as you saw me do. All right, so you secure the upper hem to with pins and secure this edge with a pin to hold it in place. All right, so once you are done, you're going to stitch from the top to this side, and then you continue all the way from here to that side. That's the end. You will feel that is you will feel it. That is the end of the flap, that 10 to something inch flap we had folded inside. All right, so once you are done stitching, you have something looking like this. So once you are done, remove your pins and then flip it inside out. So you see this 2-inch flap. Yes, you're going to ensure that you have a 2-inch margin, all right, before the flap begins. As you can see, we have more than 2-inch margin, so you have to ensure that you adjust it any way you know how. All right, adjust it, ensuring no matter what that you have a 2-inch margin before the 2-inch flap begins. This is so because we don't want to sew over the flap. And once all is said and done, there should be at least 1-inch margin before the 2-inch flap begins. All right, that is what makes an aboso. All right, so I am ensuring that I have the 2-inch margin before the flap begins. You can feel the flap as you adjust. All right, so it's a little bit bearable and easier to do to attain the 2-inch margin. So whatever way you know how, ensure that you have a 2-inch margin before your flap begins. As you can see, I have it here. I need to adjust the bottom a little bit. All right, so do the same thing for yours. Do the same thing for your project. So I have the 2-inch. I have it. So once I'm okay with it, I will iron it out. As you can see, I'm still adjusting because it doesn't seem right with me. So if yours is okay, you can go ahead and iron it all the way to the bottom. all the way to the top. So I'm okay with mine, so I am ironing it out all the way. Alright, so you flip it, because now we are literally nearly done. We are shipping it out now. So that 2-inch margin, you mark 1 inch, divide that into 2 and mark 1 inch. Alright, so you do that, and then from that 1 inch you will put in your hip measurement divided into 2. From that 1 inch demarcation, you put in your hip measurement divided into 2, and then you secure those demarcations with pins. So whatever your hip measurement is, divide that into 2 and mark it from that 1-inch demarcation all the way to the side. Now see the reason why we needed to add allowance. So you mark 10 inches from the waist to the hip measurement, 10 inches. Usually that's what we use for slits. So on the hip side too, you mark 1 inch and then you put in your measurement. Now some people can decide that on the waistline they will reduce the hip measurement by 1 or 2 inches. It's fine, but I prefer to do mine to use the same measurement for my waist and for my hip, because we will be putting in the drawstrings, alright, the ropes. So over here, when I was doing this, I used about 16 inches because I wanted it to be a bit, narrower. But later on, I regretted it. Alright, so you want to ensure that you can actually move within your slit. So I will advise that you just reduce 1 inch, alright, from the hip measurements that you're using. Just reduce 1 inch, alright. So if you use 19 for your hip measurements, you can use 18 for the hem, alright, so that you can be able to move freely within your slit. So once that is done, you iron out the demarcations. By ironing it out, you are deriving the shape of the slit you're going to sew later on. So you do that for the other side, then you do that for this side as well. Alright, so we are basically done, guys. This is it. Isn't this simple? I don't know a simpler way of doing this. This is so simple. Anyone can do it. You can do it. Just try it out. Okay, so by ironing it out, we are ironing out our shape, securing or deriving our shape. Alright, so once you are done with it, once everything is straight, you're going to stitch it. Alright, so as you can see, I have the 1 inch here, the 1 inch margin before the flap, the 2-inch flap. I have it all the way around, all the way down. Alright, and here is the shape. So I'm going to stitch it, guys. I'm going to stitch it. We are almost done, and I'm done. Over here, I hope you can see that. You've seen the stitch. So once you are done, you remove your pins and then you flip this thing inside out. Alright, so here we have it, but we are not done just yet. You have to ensure that you iron out the shape, just as you see me do. Iron it out. Alright, iron it out. On this side, can you see that? Can you see that 1 inch margin we had left? There is that. And then you iron out this other side. Alright, guys, iron it out. Iron it out in such a way that it turns out perfectly smooth, with no bend and no curve anywhere. Guys, this is basically it. How easy is this? So once we are done with the slits, we have to fix in our drawstrings. All right, so usually we use a piece of lining, or if you have some of the fabric remaining, you can cut it into strips, and then you sew the strings out of it. But I am using lining. All right, so I fold the lining, all right, and then I cut it just as you see me do. I'm cutting it with like 1 inch. Yes, 1 inch width. And you have to ensure that the wideness of the strip can go around your waist like 2.5 times or like 3 times. All right, so you secure the middle. Here we have it. All right, and then you fold it like this, then you fold it like that, and then you fold it on top. All right, and then you stitch it all the way along the length, so you have something looking like this. Once that is done, you see the side of the slit, the side of the skirt where there is a part. All right, yes, where there is a part. Usually we start the drawstrings from the left hand side where there is a slit, where there is a part. So here you start it from here, fold it in like so. Consider the length you want for your slit, and then because we had added that 1.5 inch allowance, we will have enough for the 39 inches that I wanted for my skirt. All right, so you fold it in with 1 inch. Okay, consideration given to the length that you want your slit to be, and then you stitch it all around, leaving a gap at this side. Okay, now the length of my strings seemed too long, and so I cut it by a few inches, just as you see me do, and then I secure the ends in a knot like this. You can decide to leave it just as it is, but I prefer to secure mine with a knot. So guys, this is it. Guys, please like this video, share and subscribe, and thank you for watching. Bye.